What do you think about David Letterman's admission that he's had lots of workplace romances? Did it give those women involved with him a distinct advantage? Or do you think they were just consensual adults doing what adults do? Have you ever dated, perhaps even married the boss? Or is love at work the worst idea ever? It's your call right now. So David Letterman had affairs with staff members. So what? He's a comedian, not a politician or a clergyman. So what's the big deal? Well, according to some employment experts, it's a very big deal if his lovers were given preferential treatment in the workplace. Hello, everyone. It's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle. You know, it's interesting the response the Letterman scandal has gotten. Some people say what he did was okay. Others say it's a classic example of women sleeping their way to the top. And still others couldn't care less. What do you think? Well, we're going to find out in just a few moments. First, though, we want to find out what our guests have to say about this. Julia Morrow is an attorney with the Philadelphia law firm of Friedman Schumann, who says Letterman did what millions of other people do every day. He had a romantic relationship with people at work. But Edith Pierce disagrees. As an employment attorney and principal of the Pierce law firm in Philadelphia, she says Letterman opened the door for criticism, even legal action, when he admitted his actions. And Jen Groover is a branding expert and writer for the Huffington Post, here to discuss whether Dave's future will be negatively impacted as a result of this most recent controversy. Good to have everyone here with us. Most importantly, we're glad to have our viewers along. I want to turn to Julia and ask what you think about this, why some people are so outraged at the fact that David Letterman had an affair or two or three at work.
Well, maybe, quite frankly, people just can't imagine him having sex. I mean, he did make that joke about himself. But quite frankly, I don't know why, because the reality is so many people have sex with other people at the workplace. It happens every day. And especially with the David Lettermans of the world, the rich and powerful, who've got, women literally throwing themselves at this man for whatever reason. They want to get ahead. They want a rich husband. Who knows? It happens all the time. And no one got hurt here. The partners were consenting. It's not against company policy. That is very important here. This is not a situation where it was forbidden that managers hook up with subordinates. Not forbidden here. And he wasn't married.
Okay.
So what's the problem?
I'm going to pose that question to Edith. What is the problem?
The problem is he's the boss. He's in charge, and he is the one who directs what you are responsible for doing during the day. He's the one who ultimately makes the decisions if you're going to get promoted or you're going to get that spot on television where your face is going to be seen. He's the one who ultimately makes that decision. So if you're sleeping with him, are you getting preferential treatment? If you're the person that turned him down, are you not getting that preferential treatment because you decided that wasn't a good idea for you? That's the problem. He's the boss.
Well, I don't think there's any evidence of that, and good luck trying to find it. I mean, Stephanie Burkett did make her little bit appearances on his show, but I believe that was going on before their romantic relationship commenced, which was in August of December of 2008, I think, is when their relationship went romantic, so to speak. That is at least the date it is alleged to have occurred. They're never going to be able to prove that. No one was complaining. There were never any complaints against Dave Letterman. And if people are going to come out of the woodwork right now, the issue is going to be, well, why weren't they complaining then? Why now? They're not going to have any credibility. They'll never be able to prove that.
Well, on the contrary, I mean, maybe they didn't come forward because he is David Letterman. How do you take on somebody that big, a personality that strong, somebody so loved? If you were to come forward and say, hey, I think what he's doing is wrong and I'm getting the short end of the stick on this, well, who's going to listen to you? And maybe he would deny it. Maybe that's what they're saying. So he has the opportunity, now that the opportunity is out there, because he says, yes, I did do this, it opens the door for those who may have objected and maybe kept quiet because they were afraid for their jobs.
No, that's a cop-out. That is a total cop-out to say, oh, well, she was afraid to speak out because she was going to lose her job. I mean, that paints women as, these wimpy wallflowers that aren't going to take action on their own behalf. These women were throwing themselves at them. Hold on, Stephanie Burkett, it's not only David Letterman she had in her clutches, it's Halderman, who's a high high-ranking producer at that show, okay? She's going from man to man. They're 30 years, 20 years her senior. They're in superior positions to her. She's not being preyed upon.
And
this
there's
is a situation
no
where
doubt
she's
that what
pursuing,
she did, but
and
that
the other
doesn't
woman
mean that the
pursued
other
too.
women in the work environment weren't affected by
one's
that.
complaining.
That's you don't know. Maybe they did complaining. Maybe they didn't take it that so far. Maybe they only complained to their coworkers and they didn't feel comfortable taking it any higher than that
maybe a lot
because
of
they
things.
felt there's a lot of things
And
in the world
nothing's
that we
coming
don't
out
know.
yet, though.
Maybe we don't
Nothing's
know.
coming out yet.
Well, not yet.
And
Well, I
it's
think
been
we're
over
gonna.
a week.
I think there's more to see.
I don't
Well,
think
the
so.
interesting thing here is that both of you are making reference to the other women on staff that might have complaints. What about men? Do men feel like, hey, I can't stand a shot here because I'm a guy? So any chance for advancement, if it's based on having a romantic relationship, for all we know, is moot.
Well, the same does apply for men. I mean, if what it takes to get ahead is to sleep with David Letterman, and if they're not doing that, they're not getting ahead. Now, whether that is or is not what actually occurred, obviously that's going to be a factual issue. And Mr. Alderman's attorney clearly believes that he has some kind of relevant evidence.
There's no proof. There's absolutely no proof. This Stephanie Burkett, she didn't get ahead. What is she doing? She's floating around from position to position at CBS. She's not getting ahead because of sleeping with David Letterman. Nothing good is happening to her. The intern who hooked up with him, Holly Hinton, I think is her last name. Well, the relationship ended. He ended it because she was too young. And they broke up, and she said, I was in love with the guy. I would have married him. No one's got hard feelings here. No one's getting dissed in the workplace because they are or aren't having sex with David Letterman. There's no proof of it. And the lawyer can say what he wants right now. That's all he can do.
Well, the question is what evidence is out there, and without talking to the people who work there, they are not the only 3 people who work there. There are a lot of people who work there, and men and women, and there's certainly, there's a lot of evidence that is unknown at this point in time. But what is clear is when there is sexual harassment, when there's a hostile work environment, it affects the entire environment, not just the people involved.
All right. Well, talking about a hostile environment, we're going to get your opinion on that and also give you some advice if you feel like you are in a situation at work where perhaps others are getting preferential treatment. And we're also going to give you some advice later in the show on what you should do if you pursue a relationship with someone at work, particularly the boss. In the meantime, though, we do want to talk about how David Letterman himself has handled this. He has decided to face it head on, and he has addressed it several times on his show.
Did your weekend just fly by? I'll be honest with you folks, right now I would give anything to be hiking on the Appalachian Trail. I would just like to set the record straight. No, I'm not having sex with these women. Those episodes are in the past. She has been horribly hurt by my behavior. And when something happens like that, if you hurt a person, then it's your responsibility. You try to fix it.
Now, of course, he's making reference there to his wife. He said that he came out and admitted all of this, and it was at the risk of hurting his wife publicly, which obviously he has done.